Well, let's get started this. And this is the You Are Not Crazy, You're Grieving workshop. And we are going to demystify grief. We're going to be going over the brain science behind grief. And we're going to give you a 5-step framework to help you really process through grief. So it really doesn't matter if you're grieving loss of a loved one, or if you're grieving a loss of job, or just loss of the fact that we can't go outside and hang out with our friends. We're all experiencing grief in one fashion or another right now, and this framework is going to work for all kinds of grief. It's the same framework and same steps that you take. Obviously, it's just a little bit heavier lifting depending on the type of grief that you're dealing with. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kelli Nielsen, better known as the Grief Guru. And what I like to share with people is, nobody grows up wanting to be the grief guru. At least I certainly didn't grow up wanting to be the grief guru. It wasn't a dream of mine, but I had some really tough stuff come at me in my life. I was born and raised in Minnesota, which, as we established, is tough enough when it's supposed to be snowing there later today. So that brings a whole level of suffering on its own. But I grew up in a very dysfunctional, addicted family. It was chaos all around. I became an unwed mother at the age of 19. I've had cancer 2 times. I've experienced divorce. I've experienced bankruptcy. I've had kind of a lot of hardship and heartache in my life. But for me, kind of what I call the Super Bowl of grief or grieving, where I really had to fight hand-to-hand combat with grief, was about 3 years ago, on February 1st of 2017, when my mom committed suicide. That event shattered our family. That event rocked my world. Up was down, down was up. Grief really had its way with me when that happened. And for several months, I was just kind of out to sea. I was adrift in the sea of grief, and I did not handle it very well. I had a tough time functioning. I had a tough time in my job. I actually had to transfer to a different job with less responsibility because I just was really struggling to cope. And then about 1.5 years after that, I experienced grief again in a significant manner when my 20-year-old son died of an accidental overdose. But the thing that I want to share with you and what we're going to get into in detail is the skills and the tools and the framework that I actually learned when I was grieving the loss of my mom. I'll share more about the story of that a little bit later, but how I researched and sought out and discovered the tools that would help me grieve. And when my son passed away, it was a night and day difference. My grieving process, my mourning process looked so different. And that's when I became passionate about sharing this with other people, because this is a skill set you can learn. There are things that help and there are things that hurt when you're grieving. And so I'm just really passionate about sharing that with people and equipping people and giving them just a fully stocked tool belt to be able to fight grief and to be able to move through grief and get to a place of healing and recovery, freedom and wholeness so much faster than if you didn't apply these tools. So that's a little bit about me, and I will turn it over to my fabulous partner in crime co-host, Darlene Mayo, the science behind it all, the brains behind the whole operation.
Oh goodness, yeah, I don't know about that, but I could definitely tell you about the science behind it. So thanks, Kelli. Just love partnering with you on this. I think Kelli is just, I know many of you know her. For those of you that don't know her very well, she's just absolutely amazing, phenomenal person, good friend, and wonderful to work with as well. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Darlene Mayo. I'm a neurosurgeon and a neuroscientist, and I'm born and raised in the great state of Florida. I am back here now, but not directly. So I have been a world traveler. I have worked all over the world. I spent a couple years actually in Grenoble, France, working at the French Atomic Energy Commission, doing some research over there, and then came back to the US. And most recently, before my current venture that I'll get to in a moment, I worked up at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio for about 5 years, doing neurosurgery and continuing research. So about 2.5 years ago, I decided to transition out of clinical medicine and move into consulting and coaching, which is what I do now, and is absolutely a passion and purpose that I love even more than neurosurgery. And those that have known me for a long time find that hard to believe, but I love using all the knowledge that I have to help people break free from anxiety and depression, grief, addiction, all kinds of issues using neuroscience principles. It's really amazing how I used to use these principles to help people heal their bodies, and now I really use them to help people heal not just body, but mind and spirit as well, which I really, really love. So just wanted to say hello and welcome to everybody. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Kelli to go through her framework.
Process is. So here it is in picture format or an infographic format. I know there's a lot going on in that picture, but we are going to break it down piece by piece. So do not be overwhelmed right now. But step number 1 of our framework, and this is the most important step. This is the do not pass go, do not collect $200. If you don't do this step, everything else is going to be off kilter. And this is the step that most people don't do. And it's why people stay stuck in their grief, because they don't take the time to do step number 1. And step number 1 is really establishing your own personal framework. And what I mean by that, our framework is made up of 3 things. The first thing is, what do you believe? You need to take an inventory and decide for yourself, what do you believe about this loss, this death, this experience? What are your beliefs around it? Number 2, what do you want, or where are you trying to go? You know, you can't make a map for yourself if you don't know where the destination is. So you need to look at what are some possible destinations and decide for yourself, this isn't my map, this is going to be your map, this is your journey, it's very personal, but you need to take time and think through what you want your destination to be. And then number 3, which is equally important, is who's your example, or who are you following? You know, anybody can get somewhere on their own if they're going for the first time, but you will get there so much faster if you have an example that you can follow. That's why I will forever be indebted to Immaculate, because I honestly don't know where I would be if I didn't hear her speak that one day. And I'm so thankful that by God's grace, I actually was able to meet her in person and share with her the impact that she made on my life, and share with her that her impact was so strong that now I'm out trying to do the same thing for other people and help them find freedom from grief. So powerful, so important. Who are you following? And then step 2, once we establish the framework, we're going to learn to protect that framework. And we protect that framework from 2 sources of influences. So step 2, we take a look at our external influences. So we're going to look at everything that comes in your ears, your eyes, your mouth, everything. Is your framework now becomes your map, and the thing that becomes the standard that you're going to hold everything else up to. So you're going to take a look at all areas of your life and determine if that is in alignment or agreement with your framework, or if it actually is in opposition to your framework. And that's, again, where you are empowered to make some choices about what you need to remove, what you need to increase, what you maybe need to limit, either for a season or forever. But these are going to be the things that are going to either hinder or accelerate your healing. And then step 3, and this is really where Darlene shines, because this is protecting your framework against your own influences, your own thinking. You know, one of the things that's so difficult with grief is it can be so overwhelming. When grief comes in like a flood, and the sorrow, you guys, I remember the sorrow feeling so heavy when my mom died. I literally thought my bed was going to swallow me whole. I remember laying in my bed and feeling so heavy that I thought I was going to sink right into the bed. So what are the practical tips for when your emotions, when your thoughts come in so big like that, and they want to zap your energy or take your day away, take your month away? What are the things that you can do to combat that? So that is step 3, protecting the framework even from your own thinking. Then step 4 is all about community. Again, if you have one person that you're following, that's amazing, but you also need people around you that are going to support you, that are going to encourage you, that are not going to throw you a pity party. Because pity does not serve anyone. That is going to keep you stuck. What you need is people who are going to love you, be empathetic with you. They're also going to encourage you, which means to give you courage, to give you courage to keep going. And so we're going to look at what is helpful community, and again, hurtful community. Not all community is great community. So we're going to teach you how you can analyze the current community you find yourself in, or we're going to give you some suggestions on where you can find really great, healthy community that is going to help you reach your destination that much faster. And then step 5 is, this is where the magic happens. This is the part that you'll be doing for the rest of your life. And if you do it well, it will make your life rich and rewarding. And this is the part where it takes, the tragedy and turns it to triumph, where it takes something painful and turns it to purpose. So that step 5 is finding a purpose for your pain. It may feel like your pain has no reason, has no purpose, that you have just been, picked on in the universe, and that you can't possibly understand or see any good or reason or purpose to come out of it. But I'm here to tell you it's there. And we're going to help point in some places to help you discover your own purpose for your pain. It's going to be different for everyone, but there are internal ways, purposes that you can identify, and then external purposes that we're going to help you to identify. So we are going to go through now each step, step by step, and give you some more information and then an application with each and every step. So if you downloaded the workbook, there's going to be fill-in spaces and time for you